welcome to episode number 78 of the Nintendo Jump Podcast. We are a weekly discussion podcast created for Nintendo gamers by Nintendo gamers. It's a week of December 15th. My name is Kevin, and today I'm joined by my awesome friend, y'all know him as Lieutenant Surge. It's Sergio. How you doing, man?
Hey, Kevin. I'm doing pretty awesome. What about yourself?
You know what? I'm doing awesome too. Yeah. Normally we would have our other awesome host, Daryl, but unfortunately due to prior engagements, he cannot make it today, so we will fill in for him. We'll do our best. No guarantees, but we'll go to do it today. Kevin Surge, Sergio, ALB 64 and Wave. So here we go. Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And I know we said we wouldn't discuss it on the podcast, but I kind of want to let the listeners know what's going on. So, we were talking to Daryl, and he said, I really didn't like Pokemon Sword, and we kind of told him, well, have you tried Pokemon Shield? And he said, you know what? No, I have not. Maybe I will. And actually, that's what he's doing right now. He's binging through Pokemon Shield. He's gonna do a re-review of the game because he's really liking it this time, surprisingly. So look
Nice.
forward to that. This is all fact and true.
yeah, he totally loves Pokemon. I mean, just like, y'all know from last week, he gave it a high rating to me. So I mean, that's he's a bigger Pokemon fan than me. So
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta pick the right version of the two, and it
Yeah, that's
completely
right.
changes the experience.
That's right. I need to take a break. No, I'm not gonna take a break. So Daryl, if you're listening, we love you, and we're glad that you love Pokemon Shield. So, anyway, so jokes aside, we got a bunch of topics to talk about today, and man, got a list. Sergio, you ready?
Yeah, ready.
All
What are we
right,
talking
so-
about today, Kevin?
Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. Thanks for filling in. So, we're going to talk about a game that I didn't think I was going to play, and I started playing since, a few days ago. So, we'll talk about it in a little bit. And we're going to talk about soccer games. So, the game that I'm going to talk about in a little bit, it might be related to soccer. We're also going to talk about what we wish Nintendo would learn from Sony and Microsoft. So,
Sounds spicy.
yeah, Sergio's gonna take Microsoft. I'm gonna take Sony. So it's gonna leave it at that. We're also gonna talk about games that we played and cherished over the years during the Christmas time. Because as you know, Christmas is a coming. It's next week. I'm stoked. Sergio, I know you're stoked. Daryl obviously is stoked, and his wife Becca, and just everybody about Christmas, man. I mean, okay. And then the last thing we're gonna do, we're gonna talk about backlog busting, because we always have a bunch of games that are just in our backlogs and we just don't know how we're going to tackle them. But we'll try to talk about it in great detail today. So, that being said, Sergio, I know you love soccer. I do too. And there's a lot of times where I want to be my own manager, and I played, one of the games in this series before. But then in a previous episode, I said I'm never going to play a series ever again because it was 60 hours a waste of my time.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you know what? It's weird because, for some reason, after I got back from Japan, I wanted to get more into the J League. And even though this game does not contain the J League, which is a domestic soccer league in Japan, I bought it on the eShop. And the game is Football Manager 2020 Touch.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. So it is nice so far. So for those who don't know, Football Manager 2020 is a football management simulation video game developed by Sports Interactive and published by Sega. Thing is, though, we're talking about international football. I'm not talking about American football. Now, I do know that we do have a lot of American football fans, especially in our Discord community, but we're going to talk about the
The good football.
There we go. We're gonna
No,
talk
no, I'm
about
kidding. I guess
no,
it's the most famous. Let's say that.
so good. Yeah. No. I was gonna say real football, but I think you said it better. No, no. As to what Sergio said, is a different kind of football. We shout out to football, whatever football you play.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a simulation video game, and it's cross-platform, and I happen to get on the Switch, and then
Oh.
I really want to get back into some sort of football type of game. I thought about FIFA 2020, but I'm like, well, I don't know. Uh I just didn't want to get back into it in a fashion where I'll be playing competitively like all the time. I mean, I had a moment back in
Mm.
FIFA 11 where I did that, but I want to be more of a manager. Being able to get my team promoted after year after year, ideally. But Sergio, have you played Football Manager before?
No, I have not. My experience with soccer games has been limited to FIFA. I believe I played a couple of the international soccer games
Hmm.
way back though. It's definitely been mostly FIFA. But I'm very curious actually. For example, in the football manager games, so you don't actually control any of the players, or do you, or are you able to?
In a live match, you cannot control any of your players. The only
Hmm.
thing you can control during a match are the tactics, the substitutions, and that's pretty much it. Oh, and you can pause the game too if you have to do a restroom break. So that's pretty much it. But yeah, because the scope of the game goes into the behind the scenes,
Hmm.
before and after the games, you know, strategizing, planning, scouting, just doing all the little things that you would as a football manager, or football manager slash scout slash uh, caretaker slash whatever. Like you do the other
Yeah.
roles. You're a non-player basically, but you're still very important. And now I have to say, right off the bat, I did mention touch in the title of the game. Now, Football Manager 2020 Touch is like Football Manager 2020, but the difference is that it's a bit more simplistic version of Football Manager 2020,
Hmm.
but you still have a good number of features that you can do within the game, such as scouting players. You can take them on loan, incorporate some of your other head coaches and staff to help train other players. Now, when I say that, you don't actually get to see the UI. You don't get to see the UI or like the visualizations of like players actually training. It's just all
Hmm.
in a different UI where you just see a bunch of words and like just stuff like, oh, so and so had a very good train today. He improved his free kicks or stuff like that. So it's it's a lot of words. It's very pretty much like a simulation game.
Right. Right.
And now for those who are looking for more of an action football game, it may seem very monotonous and like, oh, why would you slave your time going through just being the manager? And I can say, well, that's the fun of it though, because you get to control the other aspects besides actually playing the live matches. And there's just a lot of things you can do, a lot of variables, the tactics, whether you go 4-4-2 or 4-3-2-1,
Hmm.
if that's even used anymore, or like a 4-3-3. There's a lot of formations that you can employ and different head coaches you can hire and staff, and then you actually have you know very brief, I guess, sort of conversations with the board directors, or do they call board directors board governors, either one, and just
Oh wow.
uh just laying out how the like how you're doing, any criticism that you may have to take in and consider. So it's a pretty involved game, even for the touch version. So because in the regular version, given my experience from Football Manager 2011, you can actually have actual dialogue with the players in greater detail. But
Hmm.
like in touch, it's a lot more simplistic. I would say in between matches, like league matches, I would probably spend maybe 5 to 10 minutes just going through usual daily grind of checking on my players, checking on people that I've been scouting, negotiating for contracts, and just a lot of things that will help bolster our squad and be the very best that never was. Shout out to Pokemon. So, yeah. Now, so for this game, I took a different route. Normally, I would probably play maybe a second division team or a third division team in the England football system,
Mm.
or maybe in a different country like Scotland or Italy, what have you. But I decided to do something I haven't done before. I never done before. I chose a fifth division team. Uh, so I'm gonna just step back a little bit. For those who don't know, in England they have different tiers, so different divisions in English football. I think there's at least 18. Uh,
Oh wow.
the 18th tier most likely is, and it could, excuse me, I could be wrong. It maybe 15 or 18, but it's like like the recreational leagues that are
Right.
just local within the
Right.
communities. And then as you keep going higher and higher, you get to more of the what do you call conference national. That's the fifth division, and then from fourth to first. So for the fourth division, that's where you start getting to the league, the football league, because
Mhm.
the first four tiers are the football league. So fourth division is League Two, third division is League One, um, the second division is the N-Power Championship, and then the first division is what a lot of people are familiar with, the Premier League, the
Mhm.
Barclays Premier League. And so y'all have to understand that the English football system has been in existence since like the 1800s, like I would say 1870-ish. So it's been around for a long time. I mean, uh, starting from you have clubs like Notts County, which I think they're in fifth division. I could be wrong. Don't get mad at me if I get that wrong. Um, and another team which I cheer for, it used to be called Woolwich Arsenal, or
Mm.
today they call them Arsenal Football Club or Arsenal FC. So there's a lot of history with football, and for people who want their football manager fix, Football Manager is the way to go. Or the game, and yeah, I started with a fifth division team called Harrogate Town. I don't know why I chose them, besides the fact that they look cool and they've never been beyond. And it could be, correct me if I'm wrong. They've never gone beyond the fifth division.
Mm. Mm.
They have not gone to the football league tier. And I want to be very specific because there's like difference between league and non-league.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and yeah, so it's a pretty cool team. I mean, but off the bat, I got hit with one of my players got injured, and I'm like, oh
Oh
goodness.
man.
Well, I have to wait for like a few months, and then after like a couple months, the prognosis of that player hadn't gotten better. I'm like, this is a bit more realistic than I thought. So I was like, okay, well, yeah, but it was really fun. It still is getting to go through all the settings and just configuring like the formations. And for me, like since I haven't played Football Manager games in a long time, I decided to go to this route where I would have you know different parts of the staff handle some of the day-to-day things that I may not have a lot of time for,
Mm.
such as train the players, or actually configuring the training and you can actually mentor your players too,
Mm.
which is pretty cool. You can train them to, become better, attackers or defenders and stuff like that. So it's very comprehensive as the touch version. So, um, yeah, I mean, if you're big on simulation games and you want to see what you can do as a manager in real life, as close to as you can, Football Manager is the way to go. I mean, it's like I said before, it may come. It's not the most action packed, but you get to see your players do things that that you would not do not think is possible. I make it sound like an action packed game, but it really is like you watch, because every time you go through the matches and you actually, because you actually watch the match, right,
Right.
as if
Mhm.
you're on
Mhm.
TV, and you can go from like highlights to extended highlights to like the full match, which I'm not gonna do because that's like 90 minutes. So I just do highlights in general, and basically you just watch different highlights, and then like I just get excited when they're about to take a free kick, or they get in a header, or like just there's one goal was so cool, like one of my players, like he passed the ball from like around the mid like the midpoint of the pitch,
Mhm.
and then he passed it. It was a long pass to another guy on the wing, and then the guy from the wing crossed it over to another guy close to the penalty box, and then the guy in the penalty box he stepped back a little bit, and then he passed another guy, just I believe like 5 yards outside the penalty box, and then the guy just like he kicked this beautiful thing, and then just he kicked the ball, and then just like boom goes into the upper left corner of the net. I'm like, whoa, this
Nice.
is crazy. And then I didn't want to scream too loud because like my housemate's sleeping. I was like, oh my god, oh man. And then we won the game, and it was against the first place team in the division. I'm like,
Oh,
yes,
nice.
yeah. So I was like, okay, this is amazing. So now, obviously, you're not gonna get those moments all the time. There's gonna be some disappointments, but that's all about. It's all part of being a football manager. There
Mm.
was one time where one of my players he tackled somebody in our penalty box, got a red card, and he actually at the end of the game we lost, and he got penalized and disciplined for a week's worth of wages. And I'm like, okay,
Oh man.
done. He's got to learn his lesson, man. And then you see in text like, oh, like he is understanding about it, and he will take his punishment. And so it's very involved, and like thus simulation games. So things like that. So Sergio, with all this being said, what do you think? Like, is this something that you would play or try to get into? If there were a demo, would you play a demo of it? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Because so, for people like me that you do like a sport, whether it be soccer or whatever sport you like, and you do know about the things that go on behind the scenes, but honestly, who isn't guilty of kind of forgetting about it, right? And you just
Right.
focus on the game every week or every other week, whenever it is. You just want to watch the games and see how things are, and you always think, oh well, the manager should have done this, or this player should have played instead of this one, or they should have hired someone from this country or this other player. We get into it, and we start making or wanting to make those decisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like this type of football manager games are like a step up from something like FIFA, where you just play the game and you enjoy it for what it is. But if you're really into a specific sport, this sounds like a really cool like step up from just playing the game. You because we know about those things that go behind the scenes. Maybe it's time to give them a try, like you said.
I really like that. Really like what you said because there is a notion of empathy that you can uh, learn to have for managers in in today's world who have to face the behind the scenes stuff and just
Yeah.
or like just the things that you don't know behind the scenes and all the criticism and like the decisions that are made like each and every day and it it it, it makes you feel empowered to make those decisions uh, in the game and be able to say, oh, okay, well, if I do this, maybe this might happen, and oh, okay, I can see why, this may not pan out as well because I use this tactic or whatever. Like it, I think there's a level of empathy that you can learn from playing Football Manager that will just make you love the game even more, the game of football in general.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a great point you made, and yeah, I highly encourage anyone who has an interest in football, who wants to be able to, shout out to behind the scenes. We keep saying that, but it really is behind the scenes. There's a lot of stuff that goes into the plans of every match, and you know, it's awesome. And now there's gonna be a bit of time invested into this. There's no ending in Football Manager. You either you finish a season, you see if you can get promoted to another to the next division, or get demoted, and then you have to figure out, okay, how do I get back
Yeah.
to the division that I used to be at? So, and I know that may sound foreign to a lot of y'all in the states. Personally, for me, it is a little interesting because in the United States we don't really have a relegation system like in the NBA or MLS or NFL, like MLB. We don't have or NHL. We don't have that relegation system, and a lot of it is just like one tier, playoffs, boom.
Yeah. Mhm.
But in other countries like England, Italy, Scotland, uh, Germany, on and on and on. I mean, you have different divisions, different tiers, and you know it's just interesting because um, there's some really big hardcore fans, even in second division teams. I was watching a video not too long ago about from Copa 90. Shout out to Copa 90. It's like awesome YouTube video that talks about the derbies of like different teams in the Bundesliga, the second Bundesliga, which is the second division in Germany, and you know they talk about how these two teams, Hertha BSC and Union Berlin, like they fought against each other in like the first division, but then before, they were in second division, and even when they were in the second division, uh, they had so have all these fans just backing them up and just bleeding with their team, their club. They call it club, and I should do that too, actually. So they bleed with their club, and the fandom, the ultras, which is like and correct me if I'm wrong, ultras is a like the fan group, like like just the fan base of that
Right.
team. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Right.
So you have these different ultras that just love their team and support them no matter what, whether they win or lose. Like that is the essence, the spirit of football, and uh, and I can get more into it, but the point is that it's incredible to know like there are just so many fans of the game, no matter which division. It just goes beyond the money. It goes beyond television. Like there's just so many factors involved. So, and Sergio, I know you're a big fan of there's one particular team, right? Is it Club America? Is that the one?
Yes, that's exactly
Yes.
it from the Mexican League.
Yes, and you know, as a huge fan of of that club, going from the wins and losses, like how do you feel as a fan? Are you like a ride and die? Have you gone to their games in real life? Like, what is your experience like as a fan of Club America?
Yeah, I have definitely I've seen them a couple of times. It's been pretty mixed with the wins, losses, or draws whenever I go see them. But it's a really cool feeling to be part of a follower of a soccer team or any sports teams really, because when you meet people and you have this connection with them already from the get-go, like if they like the same team, that's pretty cool. If they like your rival team, you kind of have something to bicker about, to be
Yeah.
competitive about, and that's pretty cool. So it's just cool to find fans of the sport that you like, but in a more specific way, like you said, yeah, it's cool to be following a specific team because it's like a part of for the Mexican League, it's pretty much every week
Hmm.
for most part for most of the year. So every week there's a little something to look forward to, and it could be on a different day, different hour, but it's always there. You're always gonna see them again. You're gonna look forward to it. You might be upset if they lose. You're definitely gonna be very happy when they win, but no matter what, you're always looking forward to the next time you see them.
That's awesome, and that really speaks true to you as a fan, and I respect that a lot. I mean, it's ride or die, and just with all that being said, do you use Club America in FIFA games? Like, is that your favorite team to play in FIFA games?
Yeah, it's the only team I play as. You know how I
Oh,
always Pikachu, always
yeah.
Roller in Splatoon. Yeah, so same thing.
I was gonna say it's the Pikachu of
Yeah.
FIFA. Yeah, and you know, going to football, like, what are the experiences you had in playing FIFA? Like, have you tried Pro Evolution Soccer or you just FIFA, right? Like, how do you like? What were some of your best memories playing FIFA?
That has to be FIFA '06 on the GameCube.
Oh, dang.
Back then, I was getting each FIFA game pretty much every year, and '06 was, I believe, the first one that had the full Mexican League in it.
Ooh,
At
nice. There you
first,
go.
there were only a couple of teams that made it before, but then '06 had them all, and I was so into it, to the point that that was all I was playing.
Oh,
And
dang.
honestly, that could happen again if I really get into a FIFA game. Especially nowadays that they're so involved, and there's always like a roster update whenever something happens in real life. FIFA puts it in the game right away. You have the new kits, the new team players, so it's pretty cool to stay on top of it in the game itself. But the thing that happens to me is, I get so into it, and that's all I'm playing, and I actually had to watch less soccer in real life because I
Oh
wasn't
wow.
playing as many games as I want to. I used to be watching about 3 matches every weekend. I kind of limited back to just one,
Hmm.
which is for my team, and once in a while I'll watch another one. But yeah, I can get really into things.
Yeah, it just reminds me of how you played Rocket League, where you would just wake up 3 in the morning and you just start playing Rocket League. Would you exhibit the same behavior in FIFA? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you do, because I mean, FIFA is an awesome series for sure.
Yeah, definitely. The cool thing about FIFA that it kind of puts it above your traditional video game experience is that it merges two of my hobbies. It's a video game, but it's soccer, which is another great passion of mine. So when something does that, it's definitely special, and you kind of have to watch it because it can take over everything.
Yeah, I mean, and as people may or may not know, football is a religion. Like especially
Hmm.
it's a way of life. Like a lot of countries, I mean, I think most countries value football in that way, and it's amazing. Like just, I remember my first experience with playing. My first real soccer game was 2010 FIFA World Cup, because we were getting to FIFA World Cup at the time, and
Oh,
like my
nice.
housemates were so into it, and man, like I got so into it, like actually bought a replica Japan jersey. I was like, man, because for me, like, uh, it's a bit of a pride too, because like as an Asian person, I wanted to see an Asian team like just go far. And
Right.
there were two. There were South Korea and Japan, and then even though they didn't make it that far in the 2010 World Cup, like I was so proud of both teams, and there were so many fans, and I just want to get into it too. And yeah, I did. Granted, I did get a USA jersey later on. I believe 1 or 2 years after. But yeah, man, and I got into playing the game, and like I wanted to get really good, so I got FIFA 11, and I got someone to where, so that was probably the one game where I spent at least 600, 700 hours on it. Like just my God, like I had my own like career pro, and I scanned my face. I think I literally just took a picture of my face, and then I forgot how I did it, but then I had it, scan on their FIFA website and download it
Hmm.
into the system, and then just yeah, it was so cool. I'm like,
Oh,
yo,
wow.
this is me. And I remember the first team I played as I was the LA Galaxy. I'm like, hell yeah, man.
Nice.
Attacking midfielder, man. Number 10, Kevin said. I was so hyped, and I just got into it. I played season after season, and I even got a chance to go to the Premier League. I forgot which team. I think it must have been either Everton or I think it was Everton.
Oh,
It was
nice.
really cool. It was either Everton or Aston Villa, one of those. But it was so nice to just feel like you're a part of the game, and
Yeah.
getting noticed as a player, and just transfer to a different club, and just oh, this is awesome. And I got pretty competitive with the game too, for sure. I played against a lot of randoms, and I've mentioned this before in a very very like an episode a while back.
Hmm.
Just I there were a lot of people that used Barcelona and Real Madrid. I'm like, man, why do they keep doing that?
Oh,
Like,
that's right. That's right.
and Manchester United or Man U, and I'm like, oh God, stop using all the superpower teams, man.
Yeah.
Like for me, I had this thing where all the superpower teams, they like Barcelona, Real Madrid, Man U, they use like it's like 5 stars out of 5. But for me, LA
Right.
Galaxy, I think it's 3 or 3.5 out of 5. And then there was times where I would beat those kind of teams, and they either just like rage quit, or they just played through the game, and I'm like, yo, I'll take that 2-1 victory. Hell yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so I would imagine you had the same mentality with Club America, right? Like
Exactly.
you wanted to beat the bleep out of those teams. Like,
Yep. Yep.
I was like, man. And then God, it was really cool. And then I would play other iterations of FIFA later on, like 12, 13, 14, and 15. But FIFA 11, especially with my housemates, my college housemates at the time, like we just got into it, and like, you know, controllers were thrown up in the air and down. They were not thrown at anybody, but there were controllers thrown up in the air and down, because we wanted some sort of way to release our emotions if someone gets red carded, or like there was a thing that happened in the game that shouldn't have happened, or in my eyes. So it gets very very intense, and that's the beauty of the sport. Like you whether you win or lose, like it's always a very fun time, and yeah, just it was interesting because like and I just want to say to everyone listening, I know this is a video game podcast, but this definitely does tie into soccer or football does tie into the video game culture uh, because of FIFA 11 and 2010 World Cup or FIFA World Cup, like
Mhm.
I started getting more into the Premier League and literally going on Wikipedia and going through every single team and just reading bits of the history and like the players, the current players, and some of the news and stuff, and like it just got me more into the video games. Like I go back and forth with like reading Wikipedia and even like the Premier League website and just stuff that's going on, and then back and forth, and then I just it was at a time where I didn't really pay as much attention to the NBA or the National Basketball Association, which is a very very prominent sport to watch in the States
Mhm.
and in the other parts of the world. But yeah, I just video games, information about soccer, back and forth, back and forth. I mean, it just
Oh,
I
nice.
couldn't stop playing FIFA, man. I
Yeah.
was like, yo, this is like dope. And then I did learn about the Mexican League too. There's like teams I've never heard before, like Pachuca, and if I don't know if I'm saying that right,
Yeah.
and Chivas de Guadalajara, and just all these. It, I can't comprehend at the time how many clubs that are out there with different divisions in different countries who support their clubs like through thick and thin. Like
Mhm.
that is that quality is very admirable, and I think just having that dedication, it's very relatable even as a video gamer where there's certain games that we latch onto or series like whether it's Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest RPGs, or like even like the Super Mario Kart or the Mario Kart series. That's sort of like because for us like playing these video games, it's a religion, it's a way of life, and I think there's so many elements between soccer or football and video games that just come hand in hand. So yeah, what do you think, Serge? Like
That's actually pretty cool because so I'm thinking that Pokemon is sort of like a soccer team that is always
yes.
losing, but you're always you're still rooting for them.
Yeah, that's right. Oh man, it's always losing. Oh, well, I guess that depends on what where on the losing part. I mean, I mean losing fans or like losing like.
Well, yeah, that's a good point because you always see these lifelong friends of yours that you grew up with playing Pokemon games, and then you just see them dropping like flies. Like, oh, I stopped playing in X and Y. Oh, well, I stopped in Sun and Moon, and you keep going, and you're like, well, am I gonna drop at some point? But no, I don't feel like I am. I don't know about you.
I gotta be honest, man. I've said a lot of stuff about Pokemon, but I still I still embrace the series, even though I gave a very low score. I gave a 6 out of 10 last week for Pokemon, but I'm still rooting for Pokemon too, man. Why am I saying that? I'm saying it. I'm saying it. I'm not taking it back. Daryl probably has some things to say about what I'm gonna say, but yeah, I am still Team Pokemon.
Yep, that's right.
Now, if I were to get the third version in the Gen 8 series, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, but I definitely still want to keep up with the series, and I mean, Pokemon is a soccer team that I will always root for.
Nice, nice.
So you heard it here first. I mean, but maybe it's because it's just the two of us, so I'm more inclined. No, but anyway, any last thoughts about soccer games and just in just general? Like, what do you think? Anything else? Or?
There's one part that's bittersweet about it, and we can kind of connect it to another topic that we have for this week. Is that
Mm-hmm.
you know, personally, my heart is with Nintendo, even though I do have the other consoles. And the sad part about FIFA is that Nintendo hardly ever, actually, I don't think it ever really has gotten the full FIFA experience. It's been
Yeah.
close. When the Switch came out, it was even closer. It's usually when a new system comes out, like even the Wii U had a fairly decent FIFA game, but I think it only got the one at launch. But
The one.
we're still waiting, for the full, complete, quote unquote, next gen treatment to FIFA on a Nintendo system. And as a Nintendo fan, I know, I mean, I have the other systems. I know I could play the games on the other systems, but I want the full experience on the Switch. I want the full experience on the Nintendo system. And I don't want to say never, but knowing EA and the relationship with Nintendo, man, I don't know if that's ever really going to happen.
Yeah, and I share the same sentiments with you. When the first FIFA game came out on the Switch, it didn't have the journey mode, with Alex Hunter.
Yeah.
And I was so disappointed. I'm like, man, like how could you leave that out? I mean, yeah, it's cool to play FIFA in general, but I mean, I want to have that experience on the Switch too. That's why I did not get FIFA on the Switch
Mm.
for that one iteration. I think was it FIFA 18 or FIFA 17?
Yeah, 18, that's right.
18. Yeah, so dang it, come on, guys and girls, like come on, man. Like, I can't forgive them. Well, okay, let me take that back. There must have been you know, some software limitations to it, but I mean, still, like, there had to be a way, I mean, because I want to be like Alex Hunter, as a youngster and going through the Premier League and stuff, and
Right.
yeah, but like you said, like it just seemed like the Switch was always getting I guess not the best. They weren't getting the best version of the game, and
Yeah.
it's like, come on, guys, like gotta. There's gotta be a way, and I is it how is it for FIFA 20? Is the comparison like, has the gap been closer now? I mean, has it tightened the gap between the Switch and the other platforms like Xbox and PlayStation? Like, what is it like right now?
Not really, because so FIFA 20 on the Switch is now considered I believe they call it Legacy Edition, which is basically taking the
Oh,
game from last year, adding the new players, changing the kits, and that's it. And at
that's
least the
lame.
Switch got two regular FIFA games that were in Legacy, but yeah, starting with 2020 is the Legacy Edition, and I guess what I'm thinking is that it's gonna take a lot of successful Nintendo systems like the Switch for EA to realize, well, let's just give them the full treatment from the get-go and for the whole generation, because the Switch is doing really well. It did really well. I'm sure EA realized that. So
They better.
yeah, right. And hopefully Nintendo continues with the success and EA continues to realize it, and eventually things are a little more balanced.
Yeah, here's to hoping. You hear that, EA? Y'all got to football. That's right, football fans who want to see, you know, that that best version on the Switch.
Yeah.
Come on now. Dang it. Okay, well that's all we have for that. But yeah, I mean, it's just football games in general. Just been like, I can tell it's been a big part of your life. It has been for me as well, and yeah, it's Football Manager 2020 Touch. I think it's $40 on the eShop right now. If you want to do the behind the scenes stuff as a football manager, and if you don't really need to be part of the action in a football game, whether like in terms of just controlling the player on the field,
Right.
you don't need to do that. Football Manager 2020 Touch is the way to go. So, all right, and Sergio, you've touched upon this earlier with Sony and Microsoft. So, I guess we can go into that side topic. Yeah. So,
Yes.
we'll start with you. What can Nintendo learn from Microsoft? What do you wish that Nintendo can learn from Microsoft?
Yeah, so I have three things, and I think they're pretty agreeable. The first, I don't know if I don't really have them in order, but the one that I have listed first is definitely a better online experience. Um,
Yes.
as you know, we with the Nintendo Switch, most of us, or at least the ones that do, we started paying for the online service. It's a very reasonable price, $20 a year, um, maybe less if you do like a family account that you can share. But this was the beginning of something that Nintendo fans weren't used to. We knew that Microsoft and Sony players had to pay for online. It used to be $50. I believe nowadays it's 60 per year. But now that Nintendo has started and we're paying and we're seeing the online service that Nintendo games have, something like Pokemon, that it's a little bit lackluster, to be honest. It makes you
Yeah.
think, since we're paying, we should be getting something better, or have a different, like a tier, an upper tier. Maybe you pay more, but you get a better online connection. You get the ideal servers for the best connection, the best online experience, things like that.
Mm.
I think it's optional. It should be optional for the Nintendo players because, like I said, we're not really used to that. It's fairly new to us. But I feel like Nintendo should start. The Switch is the first entry for Nintendo into paid online. So I feel like it's just gonna get better over time. And honestly, out of the three systems, I think Microsoft does it the best. So I think if they're gonna learn from one of the other two, it's probably best if it's Microsoft.
You know, I have to agree. I mean, Sony has a good online system too, but I definitely think Microsoft does it better. So I know Sony, don't blame me for facts, but yeah, no, that's a good point. And yeah, yeah, I mean, I have to say the same for Sony. Like with Sony, I think Nintendo could borrow a couple things from Sony as well with the online infrastructure. I mean, they just got it, and especially with like giving. And I know that giving isn't like just like the whole PlayStation Plus thing.
Mhm.
Granted, Nintendo has their own thing of, with the NES Online, SNES Online. It's really awesome. Okay, we were able to play old games and people can say, well, what about the Virtual Console, Kevin? Yeah, yeah, I'm hearing you. Yeah, that is a viable option. And with SNES Online and NES Online, that has been the spiritual successor of Virtual Console, but I think that they can take a note from Sony and be able to, offer, like one or two indie games per month,
Yeah.
just to, you know, and for free, as long as you have you paid Nintendo Switch Online.
Right.
Because for PlayStation Plus, especially when you got a PS4, you're getting like sometimes AAA games for free. Like I think it's
Yeah.
like one or two
Yeah.
games where it's like a AAA game and an indie game for free just for that month. And as long as you download it and you still maintain that PlayStation Plus subscription, you're good to go. It's in your digital library for a long time. So
Yeah.
that's one thing. I'm gonna go back to you, Serge. What were some other things that you wish Nintendo can take from Microsoft?
This one is probably my favorite out of the ones that I have listed, and it's basically the connectivity between their systems. As you know,
Yes.
Microsoft has the Windows PC side as well as the Xbox, and lately a lot of their games they've been promoted as buy it once and you have it on both,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
that's pretty cool, especially knowing how good Microsoft is with the online and like carrying over your save file from the console to the Windows PC or maybe even your Windows tablet or if you wanted to play mobile. Basically, just keeping
Mm-hmm.
the games connected between the systems. Nintendo does this in a cool way. It works well if you can manage it. Like if you have multiple switches, you can have the same account and you can play the same game as long as one of the systems is online. Only one, not both. But I
Right.
feel like this is the first time that Nintendo has done something like this. So I feel like eventually it's gonna get even better. And let's say Nintendo had another portable, the 4DS or what have you, and it would be very nice if it also connected with the Switch. If there were a couple of games that you could buy for one and you would be able to play on both. If they could learn that or at least sort of mimic that from Microsoft, that would be a pretty cool thing.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, we have to realize that this is Nintendo's first foray into the whole, online thing, and it's pretty tough with just. I mean, I'm sure there's like a lot of stuff they're learning from it, and especially with like
Right.
being able to play, with like one account with multiple switches, like that is another new thing too. Um, that was one of the things that kind of deterred me from getting the Switch Lite. Even though I have 17. Just kidding. No, I don't have any Switch Lites. I know there's been a running joke in the Discord community with me getting Switch Lites. I talked about it for a long time, but yeah, I mean it's I honestly, if they were to nail that out of the park, like being able to have one account across multiple switches, like that, I mean, this light will sell even more. Like I don't even know.
Hmm.
Like this,
Hmm.
I don't, but I'm sure there's definitely legitimate reasons why they don't do that. Because uh, it is a loss of money on Nintendo's part if you're able to, because people can take advantage of that, right? Like
Yeah.
if you have one
Yeah.
account for multiple switches, like oh okay, just play this, just everyone can just share and stuff, and then
Yeah.
that gets into like you know, digital distribution rights and stuff like that. Like it can get pretty tricky, and so I think in that area, the sort of laws that go with playing games digitally and having one account for multiple switches, it can be very dicey. So,
Yeah.
uh, I think that Nintendo was smart enough to find the right balance, the right medium for this. So here's the hoping.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, for me, I just have one more. One thing that, and this is my favorite too. The one thing that I really wish Nintendo could do that I can learn from Sony is have its own convention. Now, granted, Sony doesn't do this anymore as of late, but what I loved about Sony is that they host something called PSX, which is the PlayStation Experience. It's like their own uh, expo, their own just their own events where they just showcase Sony games, and I thought it was amazing. Like I went for at least a couple years, and each time I went, I still have the water bottle that I still drink off of like every
Oh wow.
day. Like it's like it has the four symbols. You got the triangle, you got the square, the X, and the circle. Like, and it's like this nice you know this nice travel mug, and it's awesome. And like that's the first thing you get when you get your badge. Like, and even beyond that, like you get to meet developers. You get to I've talked about this before. I met Tim Schafer twice. Once in each once per year, and there was a chance you could meet Hideo Kojima, which was near impossible because I mean everybody wants to meet him. And I met the Uncharted crew, and like just the focus of just having one platform's worth of games is incredible. And I
Mm.
know we have like E3, we have PAX, West, North, no, sorry, we don't have. Do we have West? Oh yeah, we have PAX
Yes.
West,
Hmm.
PAX South, and PAX East. I don't know if we have a PAX North, but if we don't, we should. And so there's these and Tokyo Game Show, and like there's different events that holds all three of the biggest platforms: Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft. But when you
Hmm.
have Sony with PSX, like it's just focused on one platform, and there's so much you can do, and I feel like you get more out of it. Uh, for your own personal experiences. Like you get really good swag. You have more game time with you have more time with playing games there, and then you can actually meet developers because the focus is a lot smaller than just having all three platforms in one
Yeah.
setting.
Yeah.
So. And I'm really sad that Sony doesn't do this anymore since I think 2018 or 2017 and
Mm.
or I think it's 2018. Yeah, they haven't done it since then, and I'm just so sad about that because it is a really awesome event. And if Nintendo could do their own uh, like expo experience thing, like
Hmm.
that would be incredible. Like that would elevate and heighten the fandom, just just our love for Nintendo games. And there's so much they can do. And Nintendo, y'all gotta hear me out, man. Do that, bleep. Like I think it'll be awesome, uh, and I'm sure y'all can do a really great job. Maybe better than PSX. I'm saying right now. Yeah, I think you can. I mean, yo, like just the Switch, the movement. Yeah, I struggling with to say words now. So I don't know. What do you think, Serge?
Yeah, no, no, definitely. And you know what? I can kind of see the Sony ones coming back next year because
Yeah,
they're definitely want to be promoting the PS5. So
hell yeah,
here's
of
hoping
course.
in, whether it's Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, or all three of them, as long if they do these type of expos or events, I just ask that it's everywhere because so
Yeah,
if Nintendo decides to do one and it's gonna be like, oh, it's only in Japan, then I mean that's cool. We still get news, we still get videos and photos and everything, but we want to go, so just have it in as many places as you can.
Yeah, I mean they could do like a Nintendo World Tour, and like maybe each month, they could
Oh
have like
man.
in yeah, wouldn't that be yeah,
Yeah.
ideas right here now. I mean like I'm getting I'm like out of my seat right now. I'm kind of excited. So, you know, just imagine once a month you have the Nintendo World Tour. They go into different countries, and like I mean, obviously, there's like at least 200 countries in the world, and there's just so. I mean, you can't hit all of them, but I mean, just hit 12, at least 12, and then, be able to, just showcase the games and have like live, like like indie showcases or live directs. Like, wouldn't that be?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, man! Nintendo, if you take this idea, man, royalties right here. I'm just saying it right now. I'm not even. I'm not even being arrogant about it. Like this is it. Like we're an idea machine right here, and you know, it's I just that would be great. 12. Can you imagine 12 times a year?
Oh man.
Holy
Like
shoot! Like
crazy.
yeah, like man, and there's gonna be a lot of money involved, right? Like you're gonna be selling tickets like hotcakes, and it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah. I mean, the I don't even. I can't speak words now. I can't. So, anyway.
Nice. Well, I do have one last thing that I wish Nintendo could sort of mimic or learn from Microsoft, but the funny thing is, I don't really want this.
Oh no!
And
What is it?
I don't know if there's a lot of people that would want this, but the thing is, I don't see why they don't. Basically, I want Nintendo to be more multimedia diverse, to have more
Yeah.
entertainment options. The easiest option or answer to that, why is Netflix not on the Switch?
Boom. You know what? I think of that every now and then too. Like, for me, Netflix is one of the most used apps I have. I mean, like, I gotta tell you, I love like some of the food shows there. Like I'm just I'm gonna just do a shameless plug. Breakfast, Lunch, and Dinner by David Chang. David Chang, one of the world's most renowned chefs. He also has another show called Ugly Delicious. Please watch those shows; they're awesome. They are not just food shows; they talk about the history of certain foods, the culture. Okay, so yeah, I wish they had Netflix too. Well, they have YouTube. Well,
Yeah,
let me give you
yeah,
that, which is good, right? Uh,
yeah,
but but they should have more. I know they should have more multimedia apps. I think it would in- just increase the scope of their audience. Because sometimes maybe you don't want to play a video game. I'm saying that in the video game podcast. You know, you know. I mean, I say that after you play like maybe 5 hours. Just shortly after. You want to take a break from 5 hours of playing video games, and you want to, I don't know, watch some YouTube or watch like a stand-up comedy on Netflix. Boom, right there.
yeah,
Or you want to go Hulu or Crunchyroll, or I'm sure they have Crunchyroll. Right? I mean, they have some apps,
yeah, yeah.
but you're asking for them to have more and have it more streamlined and seamless, right? I mean, I think that's your point.
Yeah, yeah, that's it definitely. And like I said, I don't want that. I'm very happy with the Switch being a
Right.
dedicated gaming system, and I think most people are. I understand that, but it just doesn't make sense to me why they wouldn't do things like that. Multimedia, Netflix, Twitch, so many others that are not there, and
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of everyone has a lot of devices now that can do all those things, so we don't really need them. But at the same time, I guess my biggest question is why not? Why doesn't the Switch have these apps or streaming media options when Nintendo doesn't have to make them? They can focus on making the games, which they're doing a pretty good job at that, and their developers are too. Their developing teams. So just let the third parties put out the apps that they want. I'm sure Netflix wants to be on the Switch, but I don't know what the logistics are as to why they're not. And if Nintendo is holding back that kind of stuff, I guess it would be nice to know the reasoning, but to me, it kind of just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, and I mean, from a business standpoint, from uh, even from just a fan standpoint, I mean, it's all there. Like, there's a lot of money to be made with doing that. And here's another thing too, like what if Nintendo got its own Mixer? Mixer's been getting pretty popular, right? Like,
Yeah. Hmm.
uh, I know one of our very own. Shout out to Dr. Panda, PhD. He is part of Mixer right now, so
Yeah.
he's been doing very well with that. What if Nintendo got its own streaming platform, integrate into the Switch, and then it, like you have like an update on the Switch platform where you're able to start streaming on your Switch, because then now you have to use Elgato or just there's
Right.
Elgato. There's like different kind of streaming, um, uh, products that you have to use in order to get the ideal, streaming, experience to be able to stream with your fans and stuff or friends. Like, just imagine having like a mixer version for the Nintendo Switch. I mean, like that's one multimedia app that would just be great because for PlayStation 4 you're able to stream right off the bat. Like
Yeah.
you
Yep.
integrate with Twitch, and boom, like you're able to just start streaming really quickly. So, if they can have an easier way to stream, and maybe it is fairly easy now, but like this would just be the icing on the cake. So
Yeah, yeah. And one last thing I wanted to mention about that because, like I mentioned, I know Nintendo is focused on gaming, and I want them to stay like that, and most of us do. But all of these multimedia applications and features that they would be completely optional. If we don't want to use them, we don't
right.
have to. My question mark in my head is why aren't they there?
I I I would think that it's a maybe there's some politics involved, and there's just the direction that they're trying to go with. Like they want to focus more on just video gaming in general, and maybe they're afraid
Hmm.
that if they were to go through, considering multimedia options, it would sacrifice the quality that they have on the Switch being a video game platform first. So I think that might be why.
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah,
blame
maybe
them.
like the image of the Switch, right?
Yeah, yeah, because like when you think of the Switch, you think of the way you can play video
Yeah.
games. Like there's different ways to play. You know, I think if they were to incorporate multimedia, I mean, then it just gets very confused. Like, oh, okay, so it's a video game like console, but there's different ways to watch. I mean, we already have that with tablets and
Yeah.
TVs and stuff, right? So, I think that might have been a topic in conversation that they had, and so I don't blame them for not moving forward with other multimedia options. And I think that's why and I know that's why you didn't want it because you want the Switch to be focused as a video game platform first,
Right.
and that's
Hmm.
and that's totally um, understandable. I am in the same boat. Um, but I did want to play devil's advocate for a little bit earlier. Like, oh, maybe there's a version of Mixer. I don't know. But anyway, or even Netflix. So, okay. Whew, boy. Wow, that's quite a doozy. So, we got that, and man, just with all the video games that we played, what are some games that you have cherished, Sergio, during Christmas times year after year?
The biggest one is the one I'm cherishing right now. It's Pokemon.
Oh, yo, great answer.
Yeah, like to me, Pokemon and winter go together. If there's no Pokemon game, like a new one or a spin-off, ah, I mean it's winter in name, but I don't really feel like it's winter. It doesn't feel like it to
Ah,
me. It doesn't feel like the year is complete without a Pokemon game. Like I said, even the spin-offs, I need my yearly dose.
yeah, dude, that's dope. I mean, for me, I do have the times where I did play Pokemon during the Christmas times, but really, really, it's the RPGs. Like I remember when Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out, around I think it was early December of 2017. I was on that for a long time, and it was just a great introduction for me to the series, and I really did. A, Now, granted, I'm not done with the game yet, but I did appreciate the times I had with it during that month. And then there were previous times where I would play, like Final Fantasy 9 or 8, like during those respective Christmas times. Just an RPG just to get me going, like. Oh, man. Uh, yeah. So that's cool. There was one game that I really did cherish. My favorite one was probably Golden Sun, the first one,
Oh,
because
nice.
it was during the Christmas time, and I was on a trip with my family to Taiwan. I think it was one of those times I went, and then It was actually the time when I was playing on during the airplane flight, and I lost my save file. Oh my gosh,
Oh,
it was so bad. I know it's a bad memory, but like it was right when I saved at the Waterlight House. I saved while I was saving, it turned off, and it was because I ran out of battery, and then the save file got corrupted. And I'm like, oh
no.
no, I know. But then I just man, but honestly, playing through, getting back to that point wasn't as terrible
Hmm.
as I thought it was gonna be because I was able to relive the same experience
Nice.
again, but knowing what I could do better in the second you know playthrough, playthrough isn't because the first one was
Right.
unfortunate. Yeah, so yeah, that was quite an experience, but I'd still cherish the game. I love Golden Sun, all two of them. I mean, it's just amazing. So, um, fine, maybe the third. So great. With that being said, we there's a lot of video games. Obviously, I mean, you have a backlog. I have a backlog. I just bought two more games earlier today, so it's like, my God. Oh man, for those who don't know, I just bought Gris and Katana Zero earlier
Oh,
today,
nice.
and I was like, man, I gotta get it. One of our Discord community friends, the one and only G.I. Joe, he's a big advocate for Gris,
Right.
talks about it all the time, and yeah, I just pulled the trigger and bought the game, and I know you played Katana Zero, right? You played it, and then Dragon
Yes.
played it. I'm like, okay, so shout out to you too. I mean, I know you're here, but I just say shout out anyway. But, oh, and no, right, shout out to the GI Joe, obviously from earlier. So shout out to you too for Katana Zero. So I'm into it.
Mhm.
I just finished downloading the game earlier, and yeah, gonna play both hand in hand. I think Dragon said should play Katana Zero first, and then Gris. So I'm like, all right. And I
Nice.
think Shy Guy mentioned that Gris is a masterpiece.
Oh yeah,
Which
he's a big fan. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, and GI Joe agreed, or one of them said. I think they both
Yeah.
said. So
I'm pretty
yeah,
sure they both agree with
they
that.
both agree. Yeah, that's the point. I mean, it's a masterpiece. I gotta just experience it. Um, so those are two on my backlog busting thing. Like this in part of this backlog busting thing.
Mhm.
And what about you? Like, what games do you want to finish?
Oh man, well, this is interesting because right now I'm pretty good. I'm playing Shield, and then I'm gonna play Shield again, and then I'm gonna play Sword again. And this is all true.
Wait,
I have a
you have
plan already.
you have Sword too?
Yep, yep.
Oh man, does that mean I'm gonna get it too? I don't know. Oh my God. Oh no, I'm kidding. I don't know if I can. Oh my God, yo. Okay, so
Yeah, so I'm busy for a while, but the thing is, I'm kind of planning for, because Animal Crossing is coming out in March, right? And that's gonna take over everything, even Pokemon. So
yeah, pretty
there are
much.
there are a couple of games that I want to play before that. And oh man, March is gonna be crazy because the Final Fantasy VII remake comes out in March 3, and then
You have 17 days to finish that.
well, I wish that was the plan, but
Yeah.
OD2 got delayed from February to March. I think it's March
Oh
10.
damn. Okay, well, you just have to clone yourself and then wake up at 3 in the morning every day and just
That's
play.
that's the
Prob-
thing. So I have like a week to finish each game, and the last time I kind of, well, I pretty much did rush a game because I kind of had to, was at Luigi's Mansion 3 for our Game of the Month review. But you know what? The cool thing about that was that I realized that I can play a lot of a game if I really put my heart into it. If I kind of force myself to do it. And I mean, while I did force myself, it was fun. I loved every second of that game, like I mentioned.
Mm.
So I can play a game for like 5 hours a day. If I can do that for those two games before Animal Crossing, I think I'll be fine. So I'm kind of planning for a future log, not really a backlog. It's more like a front log, if that makes
A front
sense.
log. Yeah, yeah, no. I mean, that Makes sense to me. I mean, yeah, front log.
Oh, but I'm thinking of playing the Dragon Ball Z Kakarot game coming out
Yeah.
next month. I might have to squeeze that in somewhere.
Dang. I mean, yo, Dragon Ball Love, man. That's dope. Like,
Yep.
I've considered playing one of the Dragon Ball games. I mean, the last Dragon Ball game I played was it was on the GBA. It wasn't. It was
Oh.
first. It was Drag. Do you know what I'm talking about? It was where you're pretty much like Goku. It was pretty much before the Cell games.
Oh,
Um,
gotcha. It's like a retelling of the early arcs, right, in the series.
yes, yes.
Oh,
So
nice.
so there's one where you go from where you or somewhere if you haven't watched Dragon Ball Z, but you go from fighting Raditz to fighting Frieza at the very end, and then the next game is you fight the androids, and then you
Mm.
beat Cell at the very last moment as Gohan. So, um, man, it's yeah. So, but I've heard a lot about the fighting games themselves in Dragon Ball Z. Like, is that the one you're talking about with Kakarot? Is it the fighting video game series, or is it more like a
Well, the fighting one is out on the Switch. It's been out for a little bit. The one Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, it's pretty much a retelling of all the arcs from Dragon
oh
Ball
sweet.
Z. Unfortunately, it's not on the Switch. It's just Xbox, PS4, and PC.
Yeah, so as a non-Nintendo Jump podcast, we endorse all all the other games, right? I mean, if you want to get back, you want to start playing Uncharted for the first time, you should. No, I mean, no. Okay, back to the show. I have to say though, I do appreciate the fact that you do consider other games on the platforms that you really want to play. I have too, but I've just been so bad with like. I still have Uncharted, Lost Legacy sitting on my table, and
Mm.
but my PS4 has been collecting dust. I'm like, oh god, I need to just pick it up and play, but it's gonna take a while to update, right? Because there's so many updates since the
Oh
last time I
yeah,
played.
it's gonna
Yeah.
take a while, but I know you're gonna be playing The Last of Us 2, correct?
You know what? No. No, I'm kidding.
Oh,
No, I'm kidding. I
oh,
don't know yet. I don't know yet. I haven't decided because like as you know, as y'all may or may not know, the time I have for playing even for one console is just booked. Like the
yeah.
Switch is all I have right now, but if I'm gonna play on the PS4, I gotta pick and choose. Now I know. So one of our other friends in the Discord community, Cube, he did mention that he's waiting for me to play Persona 5. I do want to play Cube, I really do, but man, it's just like, I know this sounds like a crappy excuse, but there's just so many games, and I'm just like trying to pick and choose what I want to play, and it's such a, it's such a dilemma, a daily dilemma that I have, and I okay, I am going to make a commitment to back in the PS4. I have to get PlayStation Plus again.
Yep.
So and then I already pre-ordered Final Fantasy 7 remake, man. So I'm already in.
Nice,
So I mean,
nice.
yeah, but with Animal Crossing 2, I don't know what to do. Ah, gosh, I might as well just call myself, man. I don't know. Um, we'll have to see. I cannot predict the future right now, but I do have Final Fantasy 7 remake pre-ordered and Animal Crossing New Horizons pre-ordered. I'm definitely playing Animal Crossing first. So, it's gonna be great, and I really, well, actually no, I can't play that first because it's coming out on the 20th. Okay, well, when it comes out on the 20th, yeah,
You're dropping everything.
drop everything. I'm excited though. It's my first Animal Crossing game, so
Nice.
yeah. Man, and there's like other games that I'm just struggling to, you know, keep up with. But yeah, well there you have it. Backlog busting, front log busting. I mean, there's just all kinds of figuring out how to get through the logs. It's just it's a lot. So
Yeah.
a never ending problem. Well, problem sounds like a bad thing. It's a never ending situation for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
honestly, like at the end of the day, we're playing games, we're having fun. It's cool to challenge ourselves to not have games in the backlog, the front log, whatever. But we're playing the games and we love them, so it's all good.
It's all good. Yeah. Any last thoughts, Serge, before we jump out of here?
I think we covered everything. We do have a couple of answers from our question from last week, which
Yes.
was, what is your single greatest moment or favorite memory that we've had so far with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate? Personally, mine was our tournament, the NJP tournament that we had against the
Oh,
N64 Josh and his
yo,
crew.
I was gonna say the same thing. Oh my god,
Nice.
yes. I was like, yo, go ahead, 100%.
No, no. I mean, it was really cool. One thing that really sticks out in my mind about that moment, sort of on a whim, I decided to, because back then I was still playing as Pichu. I don't know why, and and I kind of decided, you know what? I know in my heart that I do better as Pikachu. I just need to be a little bit more defensive. And since that moment, I've stuck with Pikachu again. So it was kind of significant for me on a personal level as well. But definitely having our crew fighting against N64, Josh and his crew, that has to be the best Smash moment of this year for me.
Yeah, and I totally agree. 235%, not 1% less. And for those who may or may not know, Sergio is very good with using Pikachu and Pichu. So, it's got some street cred right there. I've witnessed it. I've seen it. I played against him, with mixed results. So, which is great because, he is, Sergio is a very competitive Pichu player. So, and yeah, for me, I'm a Nest guy. I love using Nest, and
Nice.
that was one of my moments too, where I mean, it was streamed, right? Because I think
Yeah.
N64 Josh was streaming, and so shout out to N64 Josh, really cool guy, and he was a special guest on our podcast too. Just very very cool to hang out with, and just he shared a little bit of his story, and I even bought his book too. Very good read so far,
Oh,
and
nice.
yeah, it's if you gotta listen to this podcast, okay? I'm just gonna put it out there. N64 Josh, man, and there's Shell Shock also he streamed the tournament as well. So shout out
Yeah.
to Shell
Hmm.
Shock. Yeah, it was a really awesome moment for sure. I mean, just playing the tournament and like I gotta admit I was a bit nervous too. I was like, man, like I'm playing with some pretty good people here.
Yeah.
And then they had another. I remember there was Wave Tsunami. There was another wave,
That's
and I'm like,
right. Yeah.
what? Yo, okay. Now there was a wave battle between us. Unfortunately, I lost, but he had a really good Greninja, and
Yeah.
he and just, but honestly, I'm glad to be a part of the whole thing and just representing our community. And you know, it was great. That was like what Sergio said. That was my favorite moment of Smash. It's probably one of my top 5 favorite moments of video gaming ever.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah. So
And we do have a couple of answers from our listeners for this week's question. So, Cube said, my favorite thing about Smash Brothers this year was seeing people, especially here, getting to know franchises they haven't touched before. Hearing Sergio apologize to Terry fans or seeing Decoy genuinely enjoy Dragon Quest just makes me really happy. Now I just need Kevin to boot up the PlayStation and play Persona 5 to
that's
complete
right.
the hat trick.
Oh man, so he's calling me out for that. I mean, I guess I gotta get the game.
That's one game that I really want to see on the Switch. Here's hoping.
Oh man, I I don't want to say this, but I may get it on the PS4. I think I might have to. I'm sure it's. I think they discount it, right? I mean,
I'm
I got
pretty
check.
sure it will be. I believe there's like a retelling game coming out in March, so I'm sure the original is gonna go down in price.
Oh, okay, sounds good.
Cool.
Uh, cool. And then what was our other response? You said there
We
was another one.
have one from Dapper Dan Man, and he said, I'm mashing together the times I have been able to share this game with people who have never played a Smash game before, and just see how much everyone enjoys this. As the top one, I'm choosing when I played it with my niece and nephew for the first time. Nice. It's a really good family game, even though it's all about fighting.
And but it is though because it's like family friendly fighting.
Yeah.
The 3 Fs. Well, yeah.
Oh,
There
that's
we go. No, it is cool. I mean, just being able to play with family and stuff, and you have that healthy competition. I mean, and it's all in fun, and you get to learn about different characters and just get to see how competitive your family members are. So
yeah, that's
especially if
true.
it's a niece and nephew. So cool,
Nice.
cool. So
And our last answer is by Dragon, and he says, my favorite Smash memory is probably when the game launched. We were anticipating it all so much, and when it finally came out, I remember just going online and co-oping teams against randoms with my sibling, then later on playing online free-for-alls with everyone here. Those were good times.
Absolutely. And, I remember when I first got the game, and just for the next like couple days or so, like I just try to get all the characters. Like,
Yeah.
just go through, man. I mean, yeah, awesome.
Cool. And we do have a question for this week, and it is as follows. What Nintendo world would you want to spend the winter at? Would it be Hyrule? Would it be Dreamland, the Mushroom Kingdom? What Nintendo world or environment would you want to spend your winter at?
Can we include Pokemon Worlds?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh man, yo, there's too much Pokemon love here. I gotta get my bitter side back.
No, no.
No, it's coming. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. It's a bittersweet thing for me. No. Anyway, shout out to Pokemon. Shout out to Pokemon.
Nice.
Okay, cool.
Well, thank you for listening, everyone. We're gonna jump out of here, but you can keep the discussion going by chatting with us on our Discord group. The description for this episode has a link to our Discord if you would like to join. We are also on Twitter and on Instagram as Nintendo Jump, and we also have a Facebook group. Please send us any feedback you have at NintendoJumpPodcast@gmail.com. The best way to support this show is through our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/NintendoJump, or by leaving a review for the show in your favorite podcast application. We would really appreciate it. This is Sergio, and on behalf of Kevin and Daryl, thanks for listening. We hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.
Ooh. Okay.
Nice.
I was listening to that earlier in the piano collections theme, and I know the last measure or last bar was a little different from what I hummed, but
Nice.
bye,
Yeah.
everybody. Yeah.
Bye-bye.